If you're wondering whether now is the right time to hire a financial planner, you're going to love this episode. We'll explore the signs, stages, and solutions so you can find the right person to help you create a financially secure life you love. If you enjoy our free podcast, please follow us on Apple Podcast and also give us a 5-star review and share a comment. That really helps us because it helps people to find us and for us to increase our ranking. So we really appreciate that. Hi, I'm Annette, host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast and founder of the Millionaire Insider. My mission is to help you simplify the money game so you can create a financially secure and fulfilled life without having to have a PhD or spend countless hours on your finances. You're going to learn how to think like a millionaire, stop worrying about money and wondering if your financial house is truly in order, and instead spend your time doing what you love. With over 3 decades advising 7, 8, and even 9-figure millionaires, and now joining that elite group, I'm in a unique position to help you make the best financial choices so you can create a secure financial future and retirement you love. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. For today's show notes, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/129. Millionaireseries.com copyrights all materials and intellectual property. This information is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide any investment, financial, tax, retirement planning, or healthcare advice. By accessing this content, you agree to hold millionaireseries.com and its affiliates harmless for results achieved or not achieved. So let's dive into when should I hire a financial planner, understanding the right time to get professional help. So let's talk about some of the reasons people don't, or they wait too long. One of the first ones is the myth that you don't have time. And it's probably the most common one I hear. And I just want you to think about this for a second. A good financial advisor is going to save and create more time and money for you. So it's going to be a complete win. They're going to help guide you in creating a plan so you know what you need to be doing so that you can achieve your goals and stop spinning your wheels, or worse, heading down the wrong road, only to find out that you're ending up at the wrong place. Instead of a financially secure life, a broke, worried life. So that's the key. The second is waiting until retirement is closer. That excuse of, well, I don't have time, but retirement's a ways away. The problem is too often people that fall into this category never take the time to create a plan because they don't have a coordinated retirement or tax plan. And so they end up wasting so much time and money. And by the time they figure it out, oftentimes it's too late. So don't wait because retirement is so far off. It's just the sooner you can do it, the better. All right, I want to share a couple stories. There was a workshop attendee that I met with. He had just retired and his company stock had literally dropped by 50%. It was devastating. It was nerve-wracking. Now, I don't typically share, I'm not going to share the stock, but it was a good stock. And I said, I personally would not sell it. Figure out what you need, take that. But 50% is a huge drop. Now, granted, I could have been wrong. And he did have some other assets, but he didn't have enough money. He sold it and he lost 50% of his portfolio. Well, I tracked the stock and literally 8 months later, it had appreciated up to 90%. So it was down 10% from where it was. But unfortunately, he sold it because he just panicked. Now, my comment on that is he should never have even been in that position. You don't own all your company's stock ever. It's just not advisable. And I know people do, but I just don't recommend it. Now, this is a common mistake that I have heard so many times in my career that I had to share it with you. And thank goodness it's not been my clients, but it's just stories of friends and peers and other advisors' clients. So John has substantial assets and he never gets around to creating a plan or a trust. And he gets remarried to Sally. Now, Sally has children and John has children. Everything's great until John dies. Sally inherits all the assets. Now, she's got all the money. What ends up happening is she ends up leaving all the money to her kids and disinheriting John's kids. It's tragic, but it happens so often. You don't want that to be you. You want to have a clear plan of who's going to get what and how they're going to get it. Another situation was where the second wife was basically the age of the kids. The dad left the money to his wife, but he didn't really think it through because basically her life expectancy was the same as the kids. So now the kids are in retirement struggling and she's living on all the assets. Not ideal. Another client that we'll refer to as Jane, she was losing sleep over her situation because she didn't have a plan and she was always worried that she wasn't going to have enough money in retirement. But once she got a plan, she shared that she felt like a different person. It was the first time in her life where she said she actually felt confident about her money and her future, and she was no longer having trouble sleeping. That, my friends, is the power. A solid plan provides more peace of mind, more financial peace, along with less anxiety. So take the time to make it a priority. You say, okay, I know I need a plan. I want a plan. Where do I begin? Well, you got to figure out when is the right time, because sometimes it doesn't really make sense to pay a financial planner. So I came up with 10 different reasons or signs that give you a clue it's time to hire somebody. First of all, you've experienced a major life change or you're gonna, such as death, widowhood, or inheritance. All of those are typically really good indicators that you need help. The second one is you're making over $100,000. The third one is you've accumulated over $250,000 or more in investable assets. You're within 10 years of retirement, meaning somewhere in the age of 50 to 65. You're not sure how much you need to save or how much you can safely spend. You have multiple accounts, meaning IRAs, 401ks, investments, and no clear strategy. You find yourself worrying about running out of money or wondering if you're going to be okay. You or your partner don't feel confident in either managing the money or in your tax planning strategy. You or your partner want guaranteed income and to optimize Social Security. And finally, money's not your jam or it's not your partner's. Oftentimes, there's one person that handles the money that's really good at it and enjoys it, and then they die and it's a disaster because the partner does not want to do money. And so then they hire somebody with blind faith and it becomes a disaster. I recommend, if this is a situation with you and your partner, that you find and hire somebody that you like, trust, and they can get an idea of what's going on so that they can help manage the money when you're no longer here. Now, sometimes you may need to do things right now because I've literally probably seen 1 in 10,000 people who have things so well done that they don't really need a financial advisor or they don't really need to make changes. Because a lot of times, if you're good at managing your money, that does not mean you're good at financial planning. So just be clear on that and take a look and see what you need. The best news about creating a plan is that it provides peace of mind and that it gives you that calm, that mental peace. And I think that's as important, if not more important, than from just a purely financial perspective. Because if you have peace of mind and you've got enough money, that's ideal. But sometimes people just think, oh, if they just have the money, but if you don't have that peace of mind, it can be a really bad experience. It's not ideal. All right, let's talk about what a financial planner does. A financial planner is going to help you create a roadmap. The financial plan is the roadmap to get you from point A to point B, and a good financial planner is going to guide you to get there. So, okay, here you are today, here you want to be. What do we need to do to get from here to there? All right, let's look at an overview of a comprehensive plan. The first thing it's going to have is foundation. And I know that sounds kind of like out there, but you got to get clarity on your goals and why you want to achieve them. Because when you have clarity and you know where you want to end up, it makes it a lot easier to stay the course. You want to have a spending plan. You want to have an insurance analysis and plan to mitigate risk. That includes life insurance, disability, long-term care, things such as that, your property and casualty, any type of risk. That may even include a Medicare supplement. There's a lot of different scenarios depending on your situation. And then it's got a component of investment planning based on your risk tolerance, your objectives, and your time horizon. You're going to have a retirement and ideally an income strategy. I love having guaranteed income for your need-based expenses, rent, mortgage, taxes, insurance, things that you've got to have. And then for your want-based, you can have those in assets that have some market volatility. As long as you're comfortable on years where it's down, you got to cut back. You're not going to be able to do everything you want to do. You want to have a tax coordinated plan as well as a plan to accumulate your growth-oriented assets. And then you want to complete your estate plan. And that includes all your documents as well as all your power of attorney, medical directives, burial plan, all of those things. One of the most common statements I've heard in my career is that knowing how much money I can afford to spend each month has given me back my peace of mind and helped me stop worrying about running out of money. Now, obviously, things can come up and there's no guarantee that X amount's enough. However, you can get pretty close to knowing, barring a natural disaster, that you're going to be okay. Ideally, you're going to have even more money than that. So it's not kind of like, okay, well, I've got this amount of money, and if I go one penny over, I've got a problem. Having the flexibility where you've got enough money, and then ideally, that's even growing some, and the amount of money that you need to take out for your want-based expenses isn't as much as you might think you need, so you can have a little more growth in your assets. So you want to be looking at that from a very holistic standpoint and from a big picture. Now let's talk about finding the right financial planner. Oh, such an important question. Probably the most important is your chemistry and communication. You want to have somebody that you like and who has your back. Now, I want to be really clear on this. And this is a really interesting thing. Obviously, you want to like the person you're working with. But if you have somebody where they are just so likable and so agreeable, and they don't ever disagree with anything you say, I personally would run as fast as I could. Every single scam I have ever read about has been somebody where they're like, I just can't believe it. It was like, we had our advisor over for Christmas, over for Thanksgiving, over for Hanukkah. I mean, on and on about how great this person was. We never had a conflict. And it was always interesting to me because a good financial planner you're going to like and get along with, but they're not going to agree with everything you say. So you just want to be really clear on that. You want to look at their credentials. Are they a CFP or do they have other credentials that matter? Do they have a fiduciary duty? I cannot stress this one. This means they have to work in your best interest, not theirs, not their company's, but what's in your best interest. And then are they independent or are they captive? When somebody's captive, they have one solution they can offer. When somebody's independent, they can search the entire marketplace and use any option. And so an independent advisor is important. And then what do they specialize in? Do they specialize in retirement planning, pre-retirement planning? You want to make sure they do that, not somebody that is specializing in newlywed planning and you're getting ready to retire. It's a very different mindset. A lot of advisors, the vast majority, focus in on accumulation and growth. Well, as you get ready for retirement, you got to shift that to more generation of income. So you got to be really clear on that. A financial planner isn't just somebody who grows your money. It's someone who helps you create your dream life. So as you're talking with people and meeting people, just envision, do you get that feeling from them? Like they're more focused on helping you achieve your goal than they are how much money they're going to make or what their objective is. And if you slow down a little bit and you pay attention, you're going to sense that. You can tell when somebody really cares about you versus when they just really care about getting more assets under management or selling you life insurance or whatever the scenario may be. And I always laugh. I always think it's funny because I always have clients that are like, when are we going on that life insurance? I'm like, okay, maybe I need to be a little more aggressive. But the reality of it is you want somebody that's on top of it, but not somebody that's just trying to get you to buy something until they really know what you need. I sometimes am a little more conservative because until I'm really clear on what a person needs, I don't want to just jump into making recommendations of, oh, go buy this product or that product. I would rather slow it down and make sure that we really have that dialed in. And that's something that you've got to be just aware of. All right, let's look at a couple case studies. And a couple of these are really good. And I've changed the names, changed a little bit of the circumstance so it protects the innocent. Paul and Sally had been married for years. They were in their 60s. Sally was very typical of the wife who was worried about not having enough money. And Paul wasn't, but he was so tired of hearing her complain that he's like, we've got to do something. So the first thing we did was we created a guaranteed income as well as a tax smart withdrawal plan. So they no longer had to worry about having enough money. And they both understood that if the market goes down, the portion of assets that were in growth or accumulation that were more for want expenses would have to decrease. And they both were on board with that. Sally just wanted to know that their fixed expenses and what they needed to survive was taken care of. Well, what ended up happening, which is really kind of funny, is they shared that their love life actually got better, which I thought was absolutely great. They started traveling more, which had been Paul's goal. And they both shared that they started sleeping better at night. You know, it's funny. That's one of the most common things I see when people get their affairs in order is that they sleep better. Paul said he wished he would have done that years earlier. All right, let's talk about another story. Angie was in her 50s, single. She was really unsure what to do or when she was going to be able to retire. She just said it was impacting her to where it was even impacting her job. We created a plan and we got to where we were able to replace her paycheck so that she had protection of her lifestyle. And she said it was just a game changer, knowing that she had the same amount of money coming in from her paycheck as she did from her retirement account when she was going to start taking it. She ended up getting a new job. She said she just absolutely loved it, but she shared that she felt she was thriving because she's no longer so worried about what to do or if she's going to have enough money. Her energy and her focus had gone from worry and fear and what do I need to do and am I going to be okay to really being able to focus in on her job, which she said she absolutely loved. And she wanted to work. Once she knew that she had the option, she shared that she had more joy in her life and that she had more energy than she had had in years. That's what a solid plan creates. Now, another scenario, this person had worked very hard throughout their life, not made a lot of money, ended up inheriting some money, and they ended up getting like a 3-time raise from what they earned. That's the power, my friends, when you sit down, hire a planner, and create a plan. It's amazing. In conclusion, when should I hire a financial planner? Don't wait, especially if you meet any of those criterion. The earlier you start, the easier it is to complete. And a plan is going to give you clarity, more control, and confidence. You know, the key takeaway here is if you want to secure retirement, the best time to hire a financial planner was yesterday. The next best time is today. So don't delay. You know if you're in a position where you're ready to really get it dialed in to what you need to do. And it's interesting. It's funny. When you start looking at it, these particular people had shared that they had X amount of dollars. And then we started diving into it. They literally had triple what they thought they had. That's what can happen. And it's kind of like, oh, well, I forgot about that. Oh, I found that. I mean, in another situation, we found over $1 million in stock that they had forgotten about. It's amazing what happens. You're like, oh, that had never happened to me. You're going to have to trust me on this one. Once you start accumulating assets, it is very difficult to keep track of all your assets if you don't have a balance sheet. That's why I really encourage everyone to create a balance sheet at the end of the year. It's so important. Now, if you don't have enough money to hire a financial planner or you can't afford one, I encourage you to start saving as much as you can and spending as little as you can. Obviously, give yourself some rewards so you don't go off the deep end, but really focus in on saving and investing more, spending less. Many brokerage firms offer retail accounts. Now, yeah, that's not ideal. You're going to be having higher costs, but until you have enough money to hire a financial planner or advisor, it's the next best step. So don't discount that. Now, if you're ready to create a plan and you want to stop worrying about your future, I encourage you to go to themillionaireinsider.com/SR. If you want a checklist to create a secure retirement, go to themillionaireinsider.com/RPC. That's our retirement plan checklist. And that checklist is just going to give you insight on, have you done everything you need to for retirement? It's pretty simple and it's just nice. You can go down and say, yes, yes, no, not sure, yes, yes, no, and it gives you a place to start. Now, if you have not followed us, I encourage you to go to Apple Podcast and please follow us, leave us a 5-star review, and also share this with your friends. This is our give back. This is what we do to make this world a better place. And all that we ask of you is that you follow our show. And if you like our show, give us a 5-star review and even leave a comment and then share it with friends because that's how it spreads the word. And then the other thing is that as you get ready to create a plan, meaning you've got over $250,000 of investable assets, or you are making over $100,000, and I encourage you to reach out to us. You can access us at themillionaireinsider.com/SR. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Annette Bau. All international copyrights are reserved. Bye for now.